Pagani, okay.
Like you're buying this unit, this is a good deal. Like that's it, it's the best purchase he's ever made. Trying to target 10 out of 10. We're really looking for the 1 out of 10, 1 out of 20 that actually.
What is your next project?
So there people are choosing lifestyle cities. And Miami's, if anything, like probably one of the most.
With the ability to choose, right, where you can live.
Pagani's known for these attention to detail and use of top-notch materials. There's no two Paganis that are alike. Every single one of them is a one-of-a-kind.
And one of the reasons why I moved, so they choose another brand to work with, and nothing was changed.
They're not going to let you develop something that isn't aligned with that.
Hey, welcome back to Miami, and it's good to see you. Today I'm very excited since I'm going to meet Mikael. He's a developer of one-of-a-kind Pagani Residences in North Bay Village. It's a very, very unique and detailed project, and he's gonna share with me everything that he knows about it. And I'm very excited as well. So stay tuned if you'd like to see pretty much everything from the first hand of that project. Mikael, first of all, thank you very much for your time.
My pleasure.
I'm with Mikael. He's a developer of the Pagani, and so he's the first one who, honestly, once I heard about the project, I'm like, Pagani? Okay, this is something, it's not like a Mercedes, it's not like a Bentley, it's not something that, I would say mainstream that much, to get to that, I guess, level, you had to do a lot of work. So I'd like to hear everything, to be honest, about how did you end it, to have that project?
Oh, I mean, that's long answer. I'll try to make it short, but Pagani, you're right. It's a very niche brand. And I think from that standpoint, we were really the first ones to consider not doing a mainstream brand. And as a result, I think it's probably one of the first boutique branded residences as well. A lot of these other branded residences have been like 200, 300, 400 unit buildings. This is a 7-unit building. And so, partnering with a very niche, hyper-focused brand really kind of is a completely different process, because not everyone knows Pagani, actually. And that's okay. We're not trying to target 10 out of 10. We're really looking for the 1 out of 10 or 1 out of 20 that actually understand and know the brand. And that's who we want, in the building and curating this building. In terms of how we started working with the brand, Chris Pagani, Oracio's son, actually lived in Miami for 3 years. And Pagani had just moved, or was in the process of moving, its headquarters to Miami. They're across the street from our sales center over here. So that's their America's headquarters. So there's already like a heavy focus from Pagani to deploy resources to Miami. And there was a very strong interest. And simultaneously, they had also launched Pagani RTA, which is their lifestyle brand, where they're kind of developing couches, coffee tables, desks, chairs, all that. They're also working with potentially developing some fixtures, faucets, some closets, flooring. So they were already getting into kind of like the home lifestyle side of the brand. They weren't just becoming a car manufacturer. And so when I connected with Chris, a while back, the natural conversation was like, you should do a branded residence. A branded residence would really make a lot of sense, given that you have already so much of this kind of infrastructure developed to integrate into a building. And I think it's one of the things that, a lot of branded residences lack that. They're a branded residence in name only because they didn't have all that supporting infrastructure to bring into the building. And so, through conversations and kind of sharing different ideas, Pagani did not have an interest in developing a 300 or 400 unit building. It wouldn't have been aligned with the brand, but rather really want to pick something special, something unique, something that would really allow them to develop a product where it kind of aligned with the brand values. We had this site in North Bay Village, and in analyzing it, we realized that we could develop something truly special, which was, all corner units, all with super high ceilings, all ensuite elevators. And that really aligned with what the brand kind of would look like in a building, because Pagani doesn't produce, thousands of cars a year. They produce 50 cars a year. There's no entry. Only 50 to 60 cars a year. And there's no entry level Pagani. It's all penthouses, basically. You know what I mean? And so we had to design, how do you create a building that's all penthouses? You can't technically, but you can create units that are all very spacious, that all are corner units, that all have super high ceilings. And so we just had that kind of really good alignment, and then it kind of just flourished from there.
And by the way, you mentioned about all corner units. I can tell you, look, not to, how to say, to give you a credit because I'm sitting with you right now, just to give you my feedback since I see a lot of projects. I've had presentations with a lot of people, right? And we personally sold at Bentley, St. Regis, Waldorf, Cipriani, and other projects like multiple units. And I can tell you guys, you're seriously doing a good job on the corner units. This is something where not every developer does it, and it's important where you building project with the idea that people are going to be enjoying it after it's finished, and they will go back to you and, okay, what is your next project, right? I want to live here. I want to work with you. It's really important, just to put your kind of, I guess, the heart, soul in there, to make sure you're doing something for the future.
Absolutely. I mean, I can tell you, our architect is Luis RTA, and we started with the layouts. That was actually kind of the first piece, was what is going to be the layouts of this building. We don't start with an exterior design of the facade and then try to fit something else in there, but instead try to optimize layouts and really, excel on those, and then build a facade around that. I think we have the best layouts in town. I mean, that's a function of having only corner units, but we don't have any bad units. We don't have any compromised units. Every unit has waterfront views at the end of the day, and most of them, I think maybe 75 or 80% of the building, has 2 waterfront views on both facades of the corner unit. And that's incredibly unique because if you buy something in Edgewater or Miami Beach or Bal Harbor, you tend to have a waterfront side and then a city side. But just because of where we sit in North Bay Village, in the middle of Biscayne Bay, on the tip of this peninsula, you end up having these 360 waterfront views, which I think is unparalleled and nobody else will have.
Yeah, and especially with everything that's going on in the North Bay Village, right? Development, I mean, this is going to be incredible. As I mentioned, I used to live there in 2010. It's going to change the area in general. You see those buildings coming like yours to the town with the Publix, I think, right, coming in, and everything is going to be really, I think, also kind of centrally located area, right? For people who wants to be, as we discussed, in Miami Beach in the houses, but people who wants to be in a Condos, somewhere in this area, vacation type of properties. You're not far from the ocean. You're not far from the south, north. Location is really great. Location is,
I think, key. I mean, I've been in Miami since 1997, just like you've been here for a long time. I'm sure you likely agree that, one of the things I think we can all appreciate about Miami is in terms of how it's developed over the past 20, 30 years, is that it's really a collection of all these neighborhoods now. It used to not be. It used to just be like primarily Miami Beach and, Bal Harbor, and that's it. Now it's like you've got Design District, Wynwood, Brickell, Bal Harbor, Surfside, Bay Harbor, Miami Beach. It's just like, it's a conglomerate of all these like very close by neighborhoods. And if you live in Miami, you don't necessarily live in just one neighborhood and that's it. You really kind of live in one, but ultimately access everything else around it. So being centrally located and being able to be in Miami Beach and Miami at the same time is, I think, really key. People don't want to live in just Miami Beach or just Miami. They really want to live in both. And if you triangulate kind of all these neighborhoods from, Bal Harbor, Surfside down to Brickell and South Beach, North Bay Village is smack in the middle of that triangle. It's right in the middle of Biscayne Bay, and it's I think being branded as the 15-minute city because it's literally at most a 15-minute drive to all these neighborhoods. It's 8 minutes or 10 minutes to Surfside, 12 minutes to Design District, 18 minutes to Brickell. And so it's hyper convenient without being in the middle of it all, right? A lot of people are kind of tired of living in South of 5th Street, for example. Beautiful buildings, but you got kind of all the tourism and the entertainment and the chaos that can kind of happen there. People don't want to always be smack in the middle of that neighborhood, but they want to have access to it. I think North Bay Village is going to provide a good access point while still having a true community and prioritizing like a good lifestyle. Yeah, and I can tell you, we had some clients, for example, when we offered them Sunny Isles, and for them it's too north because you have new development buildings, you can choose from, but it's too north. So I think you guys kind of in the middle. It's not South Beach, because in South Beach, for example, Raleigh building, others like 5,000-6,000 a foot, and it's right in that. I don't know. Not everybody would buy it, unless you don't know the area and you just want to buy it because of Raleigh or I don't know name. But it's, I don't know. I cannot justify it, to be honest. And here you're somewhere in between, and the price-wise also it makes sense, right? And you can go to Miami Beach if you want to. It's a part of Miami Beach pretty much, right? So I think it's a great option for those who's looking to get something in that area and not to go north. Absolutely. The views from our building, once you go kind of just a couple floors up, you can see the Sunny Isle skyline just as much as you see the downtown skyline. You're like literally smack in the middle between the two. And I don't know what building shows you both skylines like so clearly.
Cool.
But it's an interesting point, and yeah, I completely agree. It's the location is unique, and price points today make a lot of sense because you're still in that early days of that renaissance. I don't think these price points are going to stay like this. I mean, everything in Miami eventually catches up to it.
Yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
I think back to like Venetian, for example. I mean, when you were here, Venetian was not a very attractive, it wasn't like where luxury homes were being built. People want to be on Lagos Island. They want to be in the Sunset Island, Indian Creek. Venetian was kind of mostly overlooked in kind of early 2000. Downtown started to develop, the skyline becomes one of the most spectacular views you can have, and all of a sudden Venetian now kind of reaches parity with all these other kind of gated communities, and now is one of the like most desirable areas to live in. And that trend, I think, follows in most things in Miami, where you have one area that's heavily discounted, and something happens, and then it kind of catches it up to the rest. And I think North Bay Village is in that part of the cycle right now, where it's starting to catch up to kind of where everything else trades in Miami. So today's a great time, irrespective of whether it's the Pagani Residences or another product. I think North Bay Village in of itself is a great kind of micro market to be owning real estate in.
And also, when you were talking about different neighborhoods, I just remember, do you know the restaurants, Italian places on 79 at Biscayne? They start to open up, like there is one Batubelin, another one,
Batubelin, yeah.
something else, and I forgot, like
you have
there's a trio of
as well.
Ferraros, it's been there for a while.
You have Wabi Sabi as well.
And there's like 3 or 4 Italian places, as you mentioned, Japanese. I like to see those places popping up in the area, I have to I used to go from Edgewater to 79th Street to had a like pizza at Batubelin.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like that before. And I like to see it because there will be much, much more places like that. And it's kind of like area with the new places, the restaurants popping up. And I like to see that people coming like personally as I did, right, from different areas to eat there. It's something different, it's changing, definitely it's changing.
It's not just North Bay Village in that area. It's really like that entire corridor, actually. If you look, it's Normandy, it's kind of the east part of, kind of North Miami Beach over there. It's North Bay Village, it's Biscayne, but it's also even further west, Little River. Like that entire kind of horizontal corridor is going through massive redevelopment. There's a new restaurant that just opened in Little River called Sonny's.
Sonny's, okay.
Oh, it's amazing. It's absolutely great. And it's everything from like Sonny's all the way to like where the Sixth Senses is going to be opening up on Ocean Terrace. So it's like, and you're seeing a lot of development in kind of that, 70th and, kind of Indian Creek Drive area, Collins. Also a lot of development going on over there. You got some great restaurants that have popped up on Normandy as well. So it's like that whole strip, which has mostly been underdeveloped, truth be told, for the past like 20, 30 years. It really hasn't changed. Now it's kind of all seeing this rapid growth. So it's not just North Bay Village, it's really that entire corridor. And I think that's going to help sustain kind of a better ecosystem for those who live there, because you're going to have the retail, the restaurants, the gyms, all those things. I mean, Pure Vita is supposed to be coming to North Bay Village as well. You've got a Publix, obviously, that everybody knows about. You got the Shoma Bazaar food hall. Kaigo's now doing this partnership with the Shuckers. It's going to be the palm tree.
No, I didn't hear about that.
Okay, so where the Shuckers was, Bruce Eichner acquired that, and they're doing kind of sort of pop-up, activation there where Kaigo is, helping kind of redesign and redevelop it into the Palm Tree Club, I want to say. So it's going to be like a Kaigo design project for the next couple of years. So you've got all this kind of very interesting stuff that's happening all over that kind of neighborhood.
Wow. Look, I'd like to meet with you in 20 years and see how everything is going to change.
We're all going to be shocked. It's always the same story, right? We always look back and we're like, my goodness, like how quickly that happened. And
And the prices, how the prices change. I had a breakfast on Saturday with a client. He was looking to buy land on Indian Creek Island in 1976. And back then it was 200, he even remembered the price. It was 245,000 back then. But he...
Add a couple zeros now.
And he didn't buy it back then. But he has a lot of other real estate. But in general, he's been here since 1976, and how city changed. And now even like 3-4 years, right? How like drastically everything is changing in Miami. What's going to be in 20 years when with the technology and everything, you have ability to work from anywhere you want to. And especially with the with the ability to choose, right, where you can live. Because if you can make money from anywhere in the world, why would you go to, places with the cold weather, with, cities with not too safe, let's call it that way, right? Not, says here in Miami, you have by the way, one of the best things what I like about Miami that you have so many options for food. You want to go eat Cuban food, you want to go to Michelin star restaurant, you want to go Russian to Ukrainian to Sunny House neighborhood, Israeli places, plenty of them. I mean, that's the great place, and that's the great thing about Miami. And lately, last 3-4 years, I see a lot of Turkish places popping up, and I think it's also very important, right, for people who's moving in and they can choose where they can live. This is one of the things that they're looking for.
I mean, that's what we see kind of post-COVID, right? I mean, Miami has gone through a major evolution in terms of who wants to live here. From the days that you and I have lived here, Miami it had a strong local population, but it was also, a lot of tourism, a lot of people with secondary homes or third homes over here. But post-COVID, as you said, people have now started to kind of choose where they want to live. They can work from anywhere. And so people are choosing lifestyle cities. And Miami's, if anything, like probably one of the most prominent lifestyle cities in the world. I think that's why you're also seeing branded residences come down here, but that's a separate topic. So as people who are moving here are no longer just speculators, investors, secondary, third home buyers, they're actually primary home buyers. I can tell you even on our project here on this development, we're seeing tremendous domestic demand. It's not just people who live in Miami, it's people from New York, it's people from California who are buying kind of a primary residence over here. And I think that's really changed how the city is going to develop over the next 20 years. Because previous booms in Miami were really funded by, I'd say, kind of like a strong foreign market, Latin American, European. I think now what we're seeing is a much stronger domestic market, and that's probably the Miami market also starting to mature. It's being kind of less of an emerging market and more of a developed market right now, and kind of becoming a metropolitan city, if you will. And so I think that's the trend that we'll likely continue to see in Miami over the next 20 years, where it just kind of continues to mature as a real city, where you can actually get, it's not just F&B and hospitality jobs now. There's tech, there's finance, there's marketing. There's a lot more kind of comprehensive jobs that people can come to Miami for. Yeah,
definitely. I agree with you. Plus, I'm glad to see that the infrastructure part they doing in the downtown, right? Like $800, I think $802 million, right, for that infrastructure. It's good to see that it's not just, a lot of building and nothing else, that there is something else happening, as you mentioned, people coming in with the different sectors and infrastructure is changing. Yeah, that's
infrastructure needs to keep up. That's one thing that I think Miami is going to struggle with. Fortunately, like North Bay Village, just the pipeline of projects that are already announced is going to double the tax revenue that the city is used to getting, which if you think about it, that's a pretty massive kind of new set of cash flow that the city is going to have that's disposable, that they're going to be able to utilize really to not just keep the lights on, but really to kind of enact great projects. And they've already got this all planned as part of their NBV 100. But, they're kind of beautifying the streetscapes. They're building, kind of prioritizing parks and green spaces, the island walk that connects all of North Bay Village, together, the partnership with the elementary school and the Argentina national soccer team. So it's like the fact that this city is now kind of suddenly starting to receive all these funds, it's going to be able to invest in what is a very small landmass at the end of the day, right? I mean, Miami's massive city, yes, but it's got a lot of different areas that it needs to prioritize and figure out. North Bay Village is about, I think, like 500, square meters, I want to say. Same size as Monaco, but with like twice the waterfront. And so a city being able to just hyper-focus on developing this kind of small landmass with new cash injection, I think is going to ensure that North Bay Village really gets some of the best infrastructure that Miami has to offer.
And you were talking about the green spaces, and I'm thinking to ask you about something. When you're going to build your future projects, and in case if you will have to provide park, for example, for the city with some playground for the kids, I want to ask you about a favor. Since you have a kid, right? Don't just, I know you're not going to do it, but please, when you guys going to put it, make sure it's usable. Because I see some developers, they put a green space or space for kids. For example, there is one park. I mean, why not? I'm going to mention it. The next to Five Park, there's a new park, but there's structures for kids made out of metal. And there is no cover. You go there in the summertime, it's just, you can't even touch it. You can't even touch it. It's like, does not make any sense. I mean, I understand developers, some of them, they really they're not touching that by themselves. I mean, someone else taking care of the project. But, those things needs to make sense, not just to put them because they have to, you know.
I think the key with that is that you got to kind of find the right partners that are hyper specialized in doing those things and do a collaboration with them. In the same way that you work with a brand to kind of create a building identity, you can still find some brands that you want to ultimately work with to kind of integrate in these things. So it'd be great to work with, like, you know, we have a kids room in our building, for example, and we're actually talking now to a couple partners that are brands that specifically produce things for kids, furniture, toys, all those things, to try to do kind of a micro collaboration with them to help them design the kids room, because they ultimately really know what works. And like if you just leave it to the developer and to the interior designer, I think you're going to miss out on a lot of kind of the thoughtful process that you kind of need to make these things more usable.
Plus, I'm just thinking maybe it's too much, but as an idea, right? If you know you have I don't know, like you have 80 families, right? And maybe none of them have toddlers, right? And then you put a room for toddlers. It does not make any sense. Maybe to get, like, if it's kind of a boutique building, to get some feedback from at least some of the clients and see which direction you can go with some of the
you want to build something that's ultimately kind of dynamic and can be, you know, adaptable. It's hard to, at the end of the day, you know, you can't build the kid unless you're a huge building. It's hard to build a kids room that's going to appease everyone without eating into all your other amenities that you might need. But you do try to build something that is, you know, the kids room, you know, from what we've seen, are primarily used or mostly used by parents who sometimes, you know, want to have the kid go into a different space because it's too chaotic inside their home.
Because
they want to send
otherwise
the nanny.
they're going to kill someone.
It's like they want to send the nanny down there and let the kid play for 2 hours. And so that tends to target more kind of like the toddlers to like kind of 6, 7, 8 years old. You're not really building as much of a kid rooms for a 15-year-old. A 15-year-old is going to want to go do
outdoors
something else. Exactly. It's going to be outdoors. Exactly. Unless you're putting like an arcade game, but that's like an easy thing to incorporate, just like one element. But you got to be thoughtful about all those things in these things. Because you're right, you want to make it usable.
Yeah, usable. Otherwise, you just put it like, you know, okay, it's there, but you really don't care, you know. It kind of shows.
And it's the problem with some of these amenities, too. I mean, some of these buildings design all these, like, what sounds like a great list of amenities, but how many of these actually end up getting used? There's a lot of them that just, like, never even see the light of day. You know, in our building, being boutique, we really want to be very selective as to which amenities we felt would be usable and are functional and are actually going to be utilized by people. So, you know, having that kids room, having the movie room, having kind of the library where people can work from, having the residence lounge, an amazing gym and spa. And those are the things that people actually really appreciate and utilize, you know?
Yeah, about the spa, by the way, when you guys going to build, or when you're going to choose someone who will build out the spa and the steam room, can you make sure they will have a track of record? Because every other building here, for example, Armani, they just finished the building after like month or 2 months, spa is leaking, like steam room is leaking and it's closed. This is every other building has the same issue with this.
So we're working with the #1 spa consultant in the world. They've actually done all the spas for like Four Seasons, for all the major brands in the world. They're globally, like not just Miami, like globally, they are the ones who work for like some of the top-notch spas in the entire world. And so that's our consultant who's actually designing the spa and helping us develop it. It's actually very unique about our spas. Usually the steam room and sauna is tucked away kind of like in the back corner in an area that doesn't need any windows or lighting, right? Just kind of forgotten. You know, being an Italian branded residence, we got inspired by the Dolomites, which is kind of the mountainous area of Italy. And over there, all the spas are like with views.
Yeah, with the views,
on waters, you're looking over. And so we actually put the spa on the 28th floor. And it's got views overlooking onto the ocean. So your sauna and your steam room have glass that have views straight into the water. And I think that's like a very, very unique thing. I don't know of any other building that actually has that.
I didn't know about that. Maybe I missed it. Wow, that's unique, definitely.
All inspired by the Dolomites. And again, with the spa consultant who has done the top spas in the world.
Wow, that's impressive, to be honest.
It's all, again, that's kind of like where you talk about, where I mentioned earlier, like you want to find these sort of micro collaborations where you're really integrating the right partner to help design all these kind of more specific elements. So the spa is a great example. Like, you know, you don't want to leave it to just like the architect and your MEP and engineers to figure out how the spa should be designed. You really want to work with somebody who like hyper focuses and hyper specializes in designing these things, because they're going to give you everything, the materials, the type of systems that you should be using, the electrical systems, all that stuff needs to be thought through. And and yes, it's costlier to do it with one of these consultants,
I'm sure.
but it's ultimately a much, much better product that you're going to deliver at the end of the day.
Yeah, interesting. Wow, I didn't know about the spot that you mentioned. You're gonna have views.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually the spies, you said they hide it somewhere in the
dark corner. They don't give any real real estate.
Exactly.
It's not given priority real estate. It's given kind of the lowest real estate value that you could give. We gave it some of the most high priority. Same thing with the gym. So you got the gym right next door with views on the 27th floor.
What else would you share with me? Something that unique about your buildings that, like for me personally, I can, how to say that, separate the project from the project, right? And developer from developer. It's all about, how to say, who building it, you know, and like what's behind it. Right? But for some of the viewer who are not familiar with you, right, or with the project in general, what do you say that separates you? Location, we got that, but the actual project from other buildings, not just in the area, in general in Miami.
Well, working with Pagani, I think is, again, probably our most kind of unique asset, if you will, to this building.
Yeah.
We're very fortunate is that a lot of these brands don't have their original founders still involved. For us, we still have Mr. Orazio Pagani. He's at the helm of the company, and he's involved. He was here 6 weeks ago. We have design workshops with them. We heavily kind of work on the details of the building. Pagani's known for these attention to detail and use of top-notch materials. And their focus on that, you know, comes out in every single one of these design workshops. I can just give you kind of an example from literally just 6 weeks ago. You know, as much as, you know, early on in the process, we were focused on kind of big picture, the design facade, the parking pedestal, things like that. Now they're hyper-focusing on the details. So 6 weeks ago, we're talking about, you know, they bring up what is going to be the latch mechanism for your doors. Like, what? The latch mechanisms for a door? And for them, like, they design cars. Like, how the door opens is a really important experience. They want to know how
it's the first impression when you get home.
Correct. How does the door open? What kind of door? What kind of latches? What kind of handles? And I was like, oh, I mean, the latch mechanism. So, you know, we had to send them technical specs on the sheets on how everything was going to work. And we had these door handles that we kind of had, you know, our interior designers had pre-selected. And, you know, Orazio put in his hand. He's like, no, I want something that kind of feels more like the steering wheel. You know, I want, you know, this feels like too stiff. You know, it doesn't feel like it molds around my hand. So, all right, let's look at new handles. And, you know, now we're using this door latch mechanism that has like this quasi-magnetic system to it, which is a detail that probably nobody's going to see, truth be told. Like, this is going to go completely unnoticed at the end of the day, but it's being thought through. The light switches, you know, that's another element where they were asking us, you know, what kind of light switches are we going to use? And I was like, well, you know, we're looking at Lutron or Crestron or kind of one of these, you know, digital switches that everybody loves. And they're like, no. Everything in our car is actually analog. Everything's tactile. Like, we don't have any kind of digital buttons that you can touch. Yes, it's all backed by a computer behind the scenes, but the feel is there. So now we're working with one of those partners to design these kind of customized light switches that feel much more like Pagani. I think when you have these kinds of details integrated into a building, that's what creates a true branded residence and a true experience. I think there's a lot of buildings that missed out on that, where they just said, you know, hey, this is the name of our building, you know, we've got a cool facade, and then the interiors are kind of very bare bones basic. There's kind of no customizations. It's just white tiles and black countertop, and that's the product that you get. Which is another thing that we've kind of really aligned ourselves with Pagani on. This is Pagani's known for really extensive customizations. I mean, they produce 50, 60 cars a year. They will spend 1 to 2 years designing the car with someone, and they will customize everything you could possibly imagine. There's no two Paganis that are alike. Every single one of them is a one of a kind. And obviously developers want to avoid that kind of development because it's just brain damage to offer unlimited customizations. Most projects today, actually, even some of the, you know, very, very popular ones, it's one choice. It's one flooring, one kitchen, one cabinet. Take it or leave it. If you don't like it, then figure it out yourself. Us, it's not that. We have 4 types of stones for the countertops, 3 types of flooring, one of them which is this special Pagani chevron that Pagani has specifically designed that is lined with metallic accents in the white oak flooring. We have 3 types of cabinets. It gives us, you know, about 16 feasible, good combinations. There's some combinations that don't work, but you have about 16 like combinations that do work, that you would actually pick from. I mean, I don't know of any other building that has that kind of combination, especially on a 70-unit building. If you think that you have 16 like great-looking combinations, means your unit's going to be one of 3, one of 4 in the building. So if you do ever resell it, you're not going to be competing with everybody else. Your product is going to be unique. It's going to be a one-of-a-kind piece of Pagani at the end of the day. So I think that's some of the kind of things that really differentiate us from these other buildings.
Oh. And you mentioned about details. I can tell you this, since I'm in the business of sales, sometimes, and from my personal experience, I moved to the house, and as I told you, and one of the reasons why I moved in there was a fireplace. And I think this is the main reason why I moved there, because I was looking for a house with a fireplace. I know we live in Miami, we're not going to use it often, but
once a year,
at least once a year I'm going to use it. For me, I'm going to be okay. The mission accomplished. You know? Same thing with everything. I see from my clients, some of them, they buy because of vacation. Some of them buy because of people who live in the building. Some of them buy because of brand, right? Some of them buy because of something else. As I said, personally, me, I got the house, I moved there because of the fireplace, And all those details, they are usually makes a big difference, especially when you do something like that, and
Absolutely.
when the project is going to be finished. I'm sure you're aware of it, but I'll give you kind of a spoiler that most of the developers, they trying to sell projects until it's finished, because by the time it's finished, a possibility is not going to be the same. I'm not saying how to say that. When the people see marketing brochures, right, they kind of imagine themselves what they want to see. By the time it's finished, maybe it's slightly different. And then you go there and they're like, oh, I thought it's bigger, it's smaller, or like finishes, something like that. But everything that you mentioned to me, not the finish of the finishes, mentioned to me, it's, how to say that, me as a salesperson, right, with experience, I can see through that you guys, even, I don't think, you're going to have something units left by the time you finished. Most likely you're going to sell out. But even if you're going to have penthouse and I'm not going to sell it, once you finish, people will be impressed and they will come. They will call their friends and they will say, look, I live in this building. And this is something they will share with, how to say that, something that you want to share in a good way, with the positivity, not just saying, hey, I just closed on my unit at blah, 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 this project, and I don't like this, I don't like that. And this is a huge difference. And also back to finishes you mentioned, I'm not going to say the name of the project and developer, but what we do in my team, we follow every project that we're working with since day one. Once they announce launch, even before they announce launch, we know every sales guys that we work with, and we follow everything, right? The pricing, the finishes, everything. And there was a project, they launched sales, pretty much they announced they're gonna do it, and then partnership was dissolved. They decided to go with some other company. And after they switched the companies, and we checked the renderings and everything, nothing was changed. So they choose another brand to work with, and nothing was changed. You see, there's everything the same, like same finishes, everything the same. You like,
that's crazy.
So like, how come it is? If you trying to like sell that this company is going to help you kind of to work on the project, and then you change the name.
The same product.
And the same. For me, it was okay. It shows type of the, I guess, the person who's behind the wheel, right? That there's a developer. He just I'm here to make money. That's it.
Yeah. Listen, there's some developers that have an amazing track record. You look at like Ugo Colombo, for example. He's a developer's developer. I know developers that have bought in his projects because, again, he's very thoughtful in kind of what he's doing. We're actually using, our interior designer that we selected is actually the same one that's doing Vita right now and who did Onda. So, and they're very, very meticulous interior designers, A++. Very, very thoughtful in his projects. He's not taking on, 200 projects at once. It's hyper-focused on one. Edgar de Fortuna, another one that to me is like really kind of like one of the best developers in town who really delivers great product. And again, is hyper-focused on what he does. We're trying
Julius Trump as well, and Aquilina.
Yeah. And so it's like, you've got kind of mainstream mass market development that gets created, but you also have some developers that are very passionate about their product at the end of the day that really want to build something where they envision themselves living in. We take very much that approach. This is a 70-unit building. I'll be retaining a unit in there. Like my parents are going to be retaining a unit as well, most likely. We believe in our product and we're really trying to develop something incredible. And I believe in North Bay Village. I had my father-in-law who wanted to buy a second home in Miami, and I told him, I'm not letting you buy anywhere else other than North Bay Village. And I got him to buy a place in North Bay Village, sight unseen. He just trusts me. I was like, you're buying this unit. This is a good deal. Like, that's it. And it's the best purchase he's ever made. He's never been happier. So we really believe in kind of what we're developing. And again, working with a brand like Pagani, which, again, this is still a family-run business. Like, they're not going to let you develop something that isn't aligned with it. I mean, they take so much care in everything that they design. They are obsessive. I mean, truly obsessive. And we're seeing that in how that feeds into the design of this building. You know, they don't let door latch mechanisms go by without them, you know, checking off and making sure that it's the right fit. So I think, you know, this is going to be something that, from a reputation standpoint, we will look back on it in 10 years and be like, this is kind of one of those iconic buildings that really stood the test of time. And there's a couple buildings like that in Miami that I think have really kind of, you know, when you look around Miami, some of these buildings that were built, you know, whether it's 5, 10, 15 years ago, you say, you know, these are still kind of some of the top buildings to live in. And we really took a lot of inspiration by looking at those, whether it's 87 Park or Arte or, you know, some of these other brands or buildings. We really kind of want to make sure we designed something that made sense, which is why, you know, we did huge terraces. You know, truth be told, for a developer, it's really hard to do big terraces because they're costly.
I didn't know that.
And you don't really end up selling it. You know, you're selling your interior square footage, and a lot of people discount what you're getting. I mean, our 2,000 square foot 2-bedroom has an 850 square foot terrace.
Wow.
I mean, that's almost a 50% additional increase in your usable square footage, but you're not really able to sell as well that 850. So a lot of developers will say, you know what, let me just shrink the balconies to bare minimum because I'm not getting an ROI on it. You know, we said, you know what, like, we want to build big balconies. We've got these wraparound waterfront views. You know, if there's a tower that ever has kind of really big balconies like this, that's usable, that really kind of allows you to have the indoor and outdoor space, this is the right place to do it. Same thing with a rooftop pool. Rooftop pools are far more expensive than pools that are built on top of your parking pedestal or on the ground. They're super expensive to do. We have a rooftop pool because if you're going to put a rooftop pool anywhere, I think this is probably one of the best locations to have it. In the middle of Biscayne Bay, you're going to have 360 waterfront views. I mean, I understand not putting a rooftop pool if you're like deep inland, but for us, it's going to be spectacular to have that sunny aisles and that downtown view. So we kind of prioritize those things and still decide to do them, even though there were significantly cheaper options that we could have gone down. It's really to try and create a building that's going to stand the test of time at the end of the day.
And I used to live at, as I mentioned, Bay Harbor Islands. And it was a building called Club, one of the first developments after, I think it was finished in 2014 or something, 13. I moved there and they also had a rooftop pool. So it's, first of all, it's a great views because all the buildings lower, right? It's a 12-story building or something like that. So you see sunny house, you see downtown, as you mentioned. Same thing with the North Bay Village, right? You will have definitely unbeatable views, like you can see north, south, east, west. And the second thing, you just remind me about it, where I used to live there. It's a great combination for the boutique buildings between, it's a mix between the single family home and the condo where you have all amenities. Correct. So with the boutique building, when you have 70, 80 units, right, the probably possibility you're going to have some of the units combined. And there is not that many owners, right? You feel like you are in your own building. Correct. You see sometimes people, your neighbors, but it's not like a 200, 300, 400 story building, especially when it's only like 70. It's you just honestly remind me. I'm like, it was one of the
better experience.
Yeah, it was a good experiences. I really love that building. When you go on Sunday and you go to pool and you just by yourself, I'm like, interesting.
You got the pool to yourself, and that's what it is. I mean, listen, when you're a 70-unit building, you got to say maybe half the people, you know, maybe 2/3 or half the people, you know, live there year round, if that much. A lot of them are secondary homes. And then how many of those are actually even utilizing the pool? So, I mean, you know, odds are you're going to go to the gym, you're going to go to the spa. It's going to be as if it was in your private home. That's one of, I think, the big benefits of boutique buildings. And we've really seen, I think, the most demand for boutique buildings, but every developer wants to build massive towers because, you know, that's just more scalable and more profitable. But boutique living to me is really kind of where I think the experience is much better curated and developed. It's just, there's a finite amount of those that are being built. It's, you know, I mean, the amount of like 200-300 unit buildings, I mean, there's a lot of those. And to me, if you're a luxury buyer, I personally would not want to be in a 300 unit building if I'm spending $4, $5, $6, $10 million on an apartment at the end of the day. I want to be in a much more kind of personal, private, kind of discreet and exclusive building, which is another element here with, boutique building. We're able to curate the amenity package to be, again, much more hands-on, much more personalized, where the doorman's going to know who you are, the butler service is going to know who you are. You're not going to be in this 300-person kind of chop shop where, you always got like a bunch of people in the elevators and you're waiting for elevators and this and that. So, again, that's just, I think, the nature of boutique buildings by design.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. The boutique buildings is, so you really remind me about my living in that, the club condo. It's a good combination. It's, you feel yourself, you feel that quietness, you don't have that many people in the elevator, right? Or plus on top of that, you have more service provided like by people who works in the building to you. Because you have, when you have a lot of people, even there is more people who works in the building, but still it's not that, the management is not the same way, not the same.
It's hard to have a doorman to track 300 or 400 people. It's another thing when you have a doorman who's tracking 70 people, of which maybe only 30 or 35 are in the building. Same thing with the valet service. So we're actually working with a very special management company that's really, I think, going to elevate the amenity program. We're going to have a private yacht club, a private beach as well. We're partnering with having our own Pagani Residences beach. And those are things,
Where is that?
It's going to be around Ocean Terrace.
Wow, okay.
So it's seeing a massive redevelopment. Still in the works. But yeah, it's being designed and developed, which is very cool because, again, it's all about being, 8 minutes away from something. So it's like you don't have to be on the beach and pay the $5,000-$6,000 a foot to live on the beach, but you still get all the benefits of being on the beach at the end of the day.
Yeah, plus when you, how to say it, when you don't live on the beach, even when you live on the beach, I have friends, they live on the beach, but they don't go to the beach every day. Yeah. Unless you come here on vacation for a week, and then you probably go there.
And the views to me are beach view during the day is beautiful, but at night, you're just looking into the abyss. You're just looking into the pitch black. You don't actually have a view. And to me, that was always I personally never liked a nighttime beach view. I always wanted kind of the downtown skyline views, the Sunny Isles views, really kind of having the bay views sunset, where you see boats, sunset, sunrise, all those things. That's really where I think Miami has kind of the best views to offer.
Yeah, wow, you're going to have sunset and sunrise.
We're going to have both of them, sunrise and sunset, exactly. Again, all of our units have waterfront views at the end of the day, so that's incredibly unique. In some of our higher floor, the Sky Residences have both sunrise and sunset because they're flow-through units. They're effectively two combined corner units.
How big is the penthouse?
Penthouse, we have two penthouses. It's on 2 floors. They're around 6,500 to 7,500 square feet. Plus, I think about 4,000 or 5,000 square feet of outdoor terrace. They're pretty massive.
Okay.
With private pool, they'll have their own little pools. Really special. We haven't released them yet, and we'll have some very, very unique elements in partnership with Pagani that are being designed for these penthouses. We'll have some very, very exciting announcements on that.
Is there an option to combine them and make it as a one?
I suppose if somebody wants to buy both penthouses, that's certainly an option. You got somebody for that?
I might. Okay. Yeah, I might. But who knows? We have to offer it.
It's absolutely. No, certainly there'd be a way. That'd be a pretty spectacular unit to combine both of them. Yeah.
Okay. Because I'm gonna meet a friend of mine today later. He actually was looking to send. He's a car dealer, and he was looking for Pagani cars sent to Europe to his client.
Really?
And we already told him all about the project, and we just need to meet, and I'll give him more information. And we have some clients that we can offer it, but some of them, they prefer larger units. That's why I ask if there's option. Yeah. Some of the developers, they prefer to separate it. Some of them, they say, okay, can be an option here.
Yeah, so we got 2 penthouses, but we also have 4 Sky Residences, which are lower penthouses. Which are, kind of flow-through units that are about, maybe 5,000 to 6,000 square feet, give or take. And all those units is the top 4 penthouses and the Sky Residences are all going through a very kind of special design with Pagani. So Horacio himself is personally involved in helping design the interiors of the
pretty much the buyers of the penthouse or Sky Residences will be able to interact with the Horacio. Okay.
Yeah, we'll have a very, very kind of unique design experience. They're coming and developing their own things, but obviously we'll have kind of certain other elements that we'll be able to work and design on with them. Okay. Again, it's all about, we're willing to work with customizations at the end of the day. it's just a question of, what the buyer wants. We're offering obviously our own very large selections of things. But if a buyer came to us and says, I absolutely need to use this stone, we're willing to have that conversation. We're willing to entertain it then. Because again, we want to create these kind of a unique collection of 70 residences at the end of the day. It's not just about kind of mass producing something.
Thank you very much for your time. Okay. Anything else you'd like to add?
I mean, anything else you got questions on? Happy to add. But
no, I think
that was good.
We already discussed everything.
That gave you a lot of content?
Yeah,
okay.
Definitely.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.